American mother and a Scottish. And so you were living in England before?
We were living in Birmingham.
Birmingham. I was noticing that bashed in door as I walked and I thought of you. In Birmingham.
It's a good visual.
So your mother was Scottish and your
my mother
was American and your
dad
was Scottish. And so what were they doing in Birmingham?
Well, my dad was teaching at the time at Newman College in Birmingham.
What was he teaching?
Theology.
Theology. Excellent.
He's a theologian. That's how we ended up in Salt Lake City.
Brilliant.
My parents applied for jobs across the country, and one opened up in Salt Lake.
Interesting.
So my dad took a position working for the Salt Lake Diocese for the Catholic Church.
Really?
He worked at the Cathedral of the Madeleine as Director of Education.
You have to slow down just a bit, because this is really interesting. No, I'm fascinated. Theology is something, just the study of theology fascinates me. So he studied it academically, but went into what kind of practice did he go into? He became.
He was originally studying to be a priest.
Okay. So he was going into it to be an ecclesiastic, and so he became a pastor. You said?
No, he became an academic.
He became after Birmingham in Utah. What happened in what was the position in Utah?
He was director of education at the Cathedral of the Madeleine.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So his office was at the Cathedral of the Madeleine. So
really?
Spent many
When did that tenure begin?
Oh,
you said 15 years ago?
Yeah.
15 years ago?
Yeah.
Is he still doing it?
No. He's in Oregon now.
He's in Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a dean at Mount Angel Seminary, which is a
fantastic
Catholic seminary in
Boy, I'd like
Angel,
to pick
Oregon.
his brain.
He's a fascinating man.
Yeah, I'll bet. Now, has it? Did you do any studying? You're studying here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually 2 weeks away from graduating with my MSW. So
Well, no, you mentioned sociology, but MSW is...
it's a master's in social work.
Social work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my ultimate goal is to work in private practice eventually.
Okay.
As a licensed therapist.
Okay.
And focusing on art therapy.
Cool.
As a model for dealing with trauma, which you might be interested in
Hey.
more about.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in, what piques my interest, not so interested in that. What piques my interest is your curatorial practice already being kind of your feeling out for different ways and means
Absolutely.
of targeting,
It always has been.
Theoretical, specified
Absolutely.
approaches.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of me. I'm thinking of you, and this. You're taking a what kind of approach? An experimental approach to define your approach to me. That you would hope to take in the future. You're the role of a sociologist.
As a social worker in the future, what I envision in the future is working in a practice that is devoted to the process of art therapy.
Okay.
So working with individuals on a basis where we're using art as an explorative tool to address deep-seated trauma. And then throughout this process of creativity, reconstruction of memory, there's this very powerful conduit for healing.
Wow.
And so that fascinates me.
Yeah.
And I see it as a mechanism that is underutilized, and it's something that I want to
Absolutely.
explore.
How exciting. Yeah. That is really exciting. Because that's something that, very, 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 it's not a one of the millennial made-up jobs. And it's something very credible and very viable. It's exciting. So when you say deep-seated trauma, you're talking about incest and those really heavy kind of things.
Yes.
How just I don't know how much this I don't know how much this is relevant to anything, but just between you and me, how do you prepare? I think this is relevant. Do you think art will help you buoy the emotional load that might have been there if you would have attacked that issue without art, if you would have attacked the issue head on, like if you would attack the issue of child rape, for example, and hit it point blank. Because I have a good friend whose mother is basically emotionally dead because she's been working in this field for so long. She's emotionally dead.
She's burned out completely.
She's fried, and she's still doing it. She's still doing it, and she's just fried. There's no getting to her. But I'm wondering, do you think art will be able to distance you from that, and will be some kind of buoy that would temper that intensity, would be able to to sublimate that intensity into something more positive and something more constructive? Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That dynamic would be.
That's
something I'm very.
I think it's transformative. And there's a transcendence through that transformation that can occur through this creative process of healing. And so that's what
explain that in most literal terms.
Through channeling difficult memories through the process of creation. There is an opportunity to tap into a very deep sense of self and feeling.
Sure.
And explore that in a realm that doesn't require language, as traditional talking therapy does.
Right.
And this is powerful because there are some things that are very difficult to say.
Right.
And there are some things that we don't have words for.
Right. Now the child will practice. The child will not know, but you will. How will you proceed?
Well, I'm not necessarily looking at working with children.
Okay, so it's not children.
No.
Oh, I thought it was children. Somehow
adults,
I got adults. Okay,
but it's of course childhood
that's
is relevant
interesting.
to every adult.
But it's adults. That's even more relevant to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with you're dealing with like some memory suppression, things like that.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Work
with that type of
so
population.
they will be able to look at what they're doing and look at what is being. What's been transcended and manifest.
Right.
So,
and then interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
And that process is not something that happens overnight. That's
right.
going to be a long-term therapeutic goal.
Mm-hmm.
And it won't just be the art therapy, but it will be a mix of different modalities that are used, that are, evidence practiced and sound.
Yeah.
So it's a holistic approach. But
so
the art therapy ultimately
you're
is
very
what I
grounded
want to do.
in the most contemporary methodologies, and you're very academically, because.
You have to be.
You have to be.
You're
You have
working
to be
with people's lives
yeah,
here, and a vulnerable population, and to not be grounded in practice. It's disastrous.
It really irritates me when because I've been so close to that field, and it irritates me when people get on their own crusade, and I'm like, come on, get back up with us, give us some help here, back up, whoa, get off your own bandwagon,
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got to be very, very responsible, and if you are responsible and you are doing your own research and you are doing good work, that's the only way you're going to designate yourself. I mean, if you have any ambition or whatever of furthering your career and making, publishing or whatnot, that's the only way you're going to get off the ground. You'll be off the ground, but that's the only way you're going to make that name for yourself in serious publication, etc. Yes. Which I think you have I think this is an amazing approach.
Yeah, so that's my ultimate goal.
I think this is an amazing approach. So this what you're focusing on now with being a genuine 100% curatorial art, not curatorial arts for the sake of social work. I don't see that as part of your means to your ends. You're a photographer. I've seen your work. It's excellent work. Now tell me about your Sean you owned something. What did you owned?
I co-owned a non-profit art gallery.
What was it called?
Aperture
That's
Gallery.
it. And Sean wanted me to ask you about that.
Yeah. So that was a rewarding endeavor. The way that we operated that space was unique insofar as rather than take commissions through sales, we identified along with the artist whose show we were exhibiting a social cause that spoke to them and spoke to their work. And in lieu of those commissions, donations were made to that cause. But it was a really fantastic way of creating dialogue through art for social justice.
Do you feel
Very
like
empowering
you were able to do good work through Aperture?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And were you able to do you feel like you're able to not catalog it, but to reference it well enough? And
very much so.
Excellent.
Very good experiences. I want to just touch on
please.
The curatorial work for me is very driven by tenets of social justice.
We'll get there.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're touching on that.
We will. We'll get there. I'm making it. That's we're working. We haven't. That's the big baby.
Okay.
We haven't gotten there. We have to work along. We have to maneuver around. So
can you tell I'm unaccustomed to being interviewed?
Because I have to follow a certain. I've been doing this for 10 years. Trust me. I know how to work my way around an investigation. I know a way, because if you did it any other way, it would be inductive. So it's all about deductive reasoning as opposed to inductive reasoning. Because if I find the answer, if I find the answer first, well then I'm liable to have my reasoning based on that answer. So you found that with Aperture, what did you learn from Aperture?
I learned a few things. I would say I learned that many up-and-coming artists need an opportunity to show their work in a space that endorses their productivity as an artist, and not necessarily a space that is conventional in terms of a traditional gallery space. I found that to be eye-opening. I found that it was a safe way for many artists to.
Their productivity in what respect? In what respect? The productivity in what respect? Just
their sense of purpose with their art.
Okay.
Which
give me an example. Give me an example.
Well, an example would be working with an artist, a mixed media artist called Hilary Wilkinson. She's now married Jacobson. Her process was very much connected to a deep-seated...
I'm going to probably use this reference, so yeah.
Her process was very much...
And it's Hilary Jacobson, was at the time?
At the time it was Wilkinson.
Well, Hilary Jacobson, and it's now...
married name.
Everything's good?
Formerly Wilkinson.
Okay, now Jacobson, okay.
So her process was very much informed by very deep felt ideologies about life and death, and very much connected to different frameworks of understanding, different frameworks of belief. Much of her work is inspired by Day of the Dead symbolism and Catholic symbolism.
Okay.
Her process, which was very much a layering process, quite literally, with the creativity and the creation of her work, was enduring to follow through the curatorial experience to see what is actually going into creativity. And so I guess in essence, like working with an artist from inception to finality of exhibiting that work, connecting that cause is very rewarding.
Would the word marginalized be appropriate? An artist that might be marginalized in a respect and being able to find their center, or is that not applicable?
I think marginalized has negative connotations.
Well, not marginalized, because I don't think of it as negative, because I am marginalized from one point of view could be someone whose talent, and I mean some of the greatest minds of history, the greatest talents of history, have been marginalized.
Certainly.
So someone who has maybe not discovered or have been allowed to tap into their core, to find that true core self,